Our only purpose in life is growth. There are no accidents. My book is called The Resonance in Residence, an inner and outer quantum journey. The resonance is what we don't see, and the residence is what we do see. The resonance is the spirit, the quantum, that part of us that is the pattern the physical follows. The residence is everything we see as a result of the state of the resonance of the field, limited or unlimited, expanded or full, stressed or weak, healthy and robust or diseased. The information is all there. We are not a body with a field, but we are a field with a body. We grow into the pattern of the field that we bring with us from the quantum. The importance of knowing this is of tremendous value. Knowing the quantum and how it works opens the soul level. It enables us to take the word bad out of our lives and move in the word limited. Science, physics, biology, religion, spirituality, even philosophy all have their roots in the quantum, like branches on a tree that emerge from a single seed. Nothing begins at the time you think it did. A quantum is the smallest part of something, and the 0 point is nothing. So the 0 quantum is the smallest part of nothing. Imagine an atom the size of a huge stadium, a huge soccer stadium. Inside the stadium, there is the soccer ball itself. The soccer ball is the nucleus of the atom. The nucleus of the atom has electrons and protons that are bound to it. Those electrons and protons would only be gnats around the soccer ball in the stadium. The rest is space. That space would be looked upon as nothing, and that is exactly the nothing or no thing that is the quantum. Every discipline we know, from medicine and physics to spirituality and supernatural phenomena, address the soccer ball and the gnats, but pay little or no attention to the space. But the space is what holds the stadium and the gnats and the soccer game together. There is more nothing than there is something. To learn to manipulate that nothing is far more profound than to move the small amount of physical matter that is something. That same nothing is what holds all matter together, and when there is a shift in the nothing, then something is profoundly moved, as we will find out as we go on. If you need proof of what I'm saying, for this once throw out all caution aside, and come with me. After all, science does not advance by proof, as most people, even scientists, believe. It advances by coherency. Newton had no proof that the earth revolved around the sun, or that it moved at all. Yet his laws allowed us to predict the outcome of an event. They were not based on proof, but rather on coherency. Once we understand this principle, we can realize that science's great success is based on a coherent view of nature, not on a detailed set of proofs. Proof is just the icing on the cake. Thus, a belief in design, a plan, is consistent with the true nature of science, even if it falls short of proof. Now you understand a little of how profound the nothing is. We will call it the quantum. Nikola Tesla, when applying it to electronic technology, referred to it as a Tesla freestanding wave. In physics, Maxwell's equation covers no thing in the equation as a 0 point. Astronomers look at a black hole or a wormhole and call it a quantum singularity. They say that a black hole is one God divided by 0. Recent researchers and engineers have coined a new buzzword when applying the quantum signature to electronics: scalar. In the physical world, it is everything, because something doesn't exist without the space holding the something together. To the spiritual person, it is the soul. I sometimes like to think of it as the God particle because it is everywhere, undetected by normal measurement. Only our soul really knows it exists, as logic is in the material. Time is not relevant, and there is unlimited energy to it. It is all-knowing, all-present, and everywhere, has no beginning and no end, and it is so abstract, it is nothing. I am sure you did not know that there were so many words to describe nothing. When we understand the properties of the quantum and the profound effect the quantum has on our psyche, on our behavior, on our bodies, on our spirituality, and on our environment, we will be able to grasp and see a whole new relationship with our world and everything that is within it. When we're measuring the quantum, you can see that you cannot measure it because it is limitless. You can measure its effects, and the quantum exists everywhere. The quantum is a part of all things, and the quantum is always moving. These are the properties that we see in everything and in nothing. Understanding these points, we will see the profound effect we have on the world, even though we are only one being. Think of a beach with millions of grains of sand. If you remove one, does it change the beach? Understanding the quantum makes you realize that yes, in fact it does. Everything is possessed of infinity and eternity, unlimited. Our planet resonates just as everything does. This is called the Schumann resonance. It is electromagnetic in nature and an integral part of the quantum itself. When we are in alpha, our most creative state, we are in resonance with the Earth, 7.83 hertz, approximately. It oscillates somewhere between 7 and 9 hertz, just like we do when in a meditative state, or state of prayer, or creative concentration. It jumps around, dithers, oscillates. Nothing is ever just one frequency. Everything is constantly shifting, moving, changing resonance, but always flowing with the quantum space around it. Remember, space isn't remote at all. It is all around us. Illusion? Our world of senses is an illusion. Have you ever watched a bullfighter on television? Well, that poor bull is just charging that red cape, constantly charging that red cape, thinking that that red cape is what's going to get him. He doesn't know, however, that the sword behind the red cape is actually what's going to do him in. That's the illusion. The red cape isn't going to hurt him like the sword, but he won't know it until it's too late. We are much that way. We keep worrying about things that don't matter, or that we can't do anything about, or that even won't happen. Forgetting all the space and energy zipping around us, we are caught up in that illusion of what we see, feel, or touch. The factors, however, that will get us in the end, what really matters, are beyond what we acknowledge as present reality. It comes flying out of nothing to really be the something big in our lives. But we keep charging the red cape, thinking of the red cape as the problem, over and over and over. Mark Twain understood illusions, as he said that as an old man he knew many troubles, and most of them never happened. Remember the stadium? Keep that vision in mind as we explore the material and spatial laws of the quantum itself, to understand a multidimensional universe and leave the flat, illusionary world behind. The movement of space, no matter how small, creates a domino effect movement in the quantum and affects everything, eventually even the whole universe. Take one grain of sand, it changes the whole beach. Like the Mobius, everything is connected and comes around in a continuous loop. That is why the destruction of life, without the recreation, is so profound, as it changes not only the whole beach, but leaves a large gaping hole in the fabric of once was. When we remove something material, we are moving the quantum because we are shifting the space and the background of the space that once was into a new, unknown factor or dimension. Christ said, "We fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities." He was saying not to worry about the material world and the tangible, touchy-feely things. It, the quantum that cannot be seen, felt, or touched, is what really impacts us. The quantum dictates growth, thoughts and creation, our physical wellness, what we are, and what we will become. We have to provide the power and consent through free choice to make it happen, and then the energy to give it form. Make it so. Take power over it. Don't give the power away. Change the material situation into what you want or need. Don't leave destiny up to principalities, or you won't see it coming. Life is a learning experience. The only trouble is, you get the test before you've learned the lessons. The changing of space varies the quantum impact. It can also make a difference in the resonance and the way things move and vibrate. Just like a tuning fork, you can change the environment of space by changing the resonance. The tuning fork doesn't touch the other tuning fork to vibrate in sympathetic resonance. It just has to be placed near the space of vibrational resonance. Ever meet someone or just walk by someone and feel creepy or bad? Their resonance and field, being anti-coherent, affects your field and sometimes can even make you feel weak. Their resonance is trying to expand and reorganize because that is the job of the soul and spirit in the body, to raise the resonance by organizing the field. The limited resonance person is an energy vampire and is actually sucking dry the energy surrounding the person with the expanded harmonic code. The unlimited harmonic mind field looks like a dessert, multidimensional. Naturally, everybody whose field is flat, with limited dimensional planes, wants some. Likewise, have you ever been in the presence of someone that makes you feel warm and fuzzy? After a while, the quantum mind field can distinguish the amount of chaos in the field of the other person, and that chaos is either compatible or it is not. Or perhaps you just put up with it. Or then you can also decide that you cannot put up with it and things must change. It is always a dilemma because the higher resonant field is the one at risk. Beware of the guy who, when he smells the flowers, looks around for a coffin. Music is an example of how the change in space can alter the field and resonance, and therefore affect the mass. Have you ever been low in energy, then you went into a restaurant or someplace where music is playing, and it changes your mood and sense of well-being instantly? Music has resonance with a wide range of harmonics and can extend the personal mind field. It can alter the quantum energy field. It has been said that music is the voice of God flowing through space. When it makes you feel good, it is energizing your field or changing the mood from depressed to peaceful or joyous by changing the harmonic content. You can't see anything, but you can definitely feel the beat. It's changing you physically, altering hormones, changing adrenaline, etc. The study of music's effect on the brain has proven that harmonic chords alter brainwave patterns and enhance learning abilities. With this in mind, resonant fields can be positively altered with light and sound, as both are frequencies that carry high harmonic content. Unfortunately, music can also carry more chaos in the field with disharmonic chords. It can constrict the resonance, taking it to a very depressed state where violent actions rule and can create illness where there was health. Fear is the sister of depression, and both usually come out of chaotic fields, hand in hand. Even though these things are not tangible, they can have a greater impact as they take up more space, and the information rides piggyback, governed by the quantum. Some young people who attend hard rock concerts come away from the hours of field bombardment with a debilitating effect, which can lead to depression, violence, and other chaotic mind field aberrations. These show up as unorganized fractal patterns. When fractal organization becomes filled with unorganized patterns, they burden the system and hover in the field for long periods of time. Fractals are the systematic division of space, trying to reach zero nothing, which is impossible because there is always something left, no matter how small. This can be said of the empty set in mathematics. The space, nothingness, of the empty set can be divided repeatedly, searching for the zero nothing. Therefore, the 0 point generates all other numbers, both negative and positive, because true zero, nothing, cannot be something, and the something, which is nothing, generates everything else, depending upon the information that it carries. Now that sounds a bit complicated, but the mathematical conclusion is that the nothing, 0 point, has always existed and permeates everything. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. Likewise, everything is seeking 0 point, the nothingness in everything. The trick is not to worry about what seems to be the problem, the illusion, or what is wanted, but to be able to work on the energy factor that will change time and space to yield the material reality. This is how prayer and miracles work. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. When the quantum is given enough information, it will create the coalescence of matter by the manipulation of space. Move the quantum, and the matter will be moved to show a material or even biological effect. When something is vitally important, and nothing else we can do seems to be a solution, that is when we have our little talk with God. Prayer or creative meditation is a way of manifesting and altering the quantum to affect the space around material thought. And by adding energy, it creates movement and cohesion. Let's imagine that you want a Lamborghini. Most couldn't have a Lamborghini appear before them because it is doubtful that enough energy could be produced from the field to produce a car, at least with most of our limited fields. Also, explicit information would have to be sent with the energy. However, by putting the idea out into the future and collecting the energy around the idea, by thinking of it every day, as well as reading up on the Lamborghini and its engine, and how it is put together, and perhaps even hanging out around a Lamborghini dealer or mechanic, eventually the Lamborghini will manifest. The information was placed into the quantum as energized fractal patterning and became programmed for materialization, which moves omnidirectional into space-time. A miracle takes place because enough energy is produced in a split second by pulling it from the space quantum around us, and not just from our own limited field, that the miracle can take place. Certain holy men can manifest objects, both living and non-living, before your eyes, out of thin air, at will. They know how to manipulate the quantum and have mastered the ability to project their energy like a laser beam. As portrayed in the Matrix, don't buy into the cannot, and you can. Remember that life is full of miracles, but they're not always the ones we pray for. We've all heard the phrase, big fish in a small pond. It would be quite a shock if we were to remove Mr. Big Fish from his limited environment, the dark pond bottom, to our world of light. Another dimension he never realized was always there, but existed just a breath away. Look out over the ocean in your mind. Vast stretches of fluidity move in wavelets. Instead of water, view this vast stretch as quantum space as it melts and becomes one with the sky. Merge the horizon line so that it becomes one with the sea and the sky, much like fog on a gray, rainy afternoon. Now imagine that this scene is nothing. Suddenly, it is not a sea, a horizon, a fog, and a sky, but a quantum 0 point fabric. It is a clean slate upon which you can write your life. Imagine what you will and give it a shape. Perhaps even liken it to a familiar object. Put energy behind the thought pattern and will it into the future. Don't strain. You have the power. As force of any kind goes against the quantum, merely relax and see it happening, and then let it go. Whenever one looks at a cell, it seems to have a lot of space within it. It almost looks empty, like a bag holding a small nucleus, as in a nuclear envelope, with organelles in a bag of solution. But this is not so. Actually, the cell is filled with filaments, tubes, fibers, trabeculae, which all make up the cytoplastic matrix, or the cytoskeleton. Most of the enzymes that were previously thought to be floating in the cell soup are delicately attached to structures within the cell and the nucleus. Biochemistry becomes oversimplified by showing metabolic pathways as linear sequences, without looking how the chemistry of life takes place within the energy quantum. This living matrix is an unlimited, continuous, and dynamic supramolecular web that extends itself to all parts of the body. It is a nuclear matrix within a collective tissue matrix. This is all wrapped not only within its own information quantum web, but is connected to the mind field through the energetic flow of information from the inside of the nucleus to the outer skeletal formation. Albert Zent Gorkel, Nobel Prize winner in 1937 for his discovery of vitamin C, suggested that proteins in the body are semiconductors. In quotes, if a great number of atoms are arranged with regularity in close proximity, as for example in a crystal lattice, single electrons cease to belong to one or two atoms only, and belong instead to the whole system. A great number of molecules may join to form energy continua, along which energy, namely excited electrons, may travel a certain distance. End of quotes. Semiconductors are between conductors and insulators in terms of their ability to conduct electricity. The semiconductor proteins provide the electrical energy to help move information within the system, as well as throughout the quantum matrix. Every particle exchanges information from the inner quantum space to the outer quantum space, the mind field that surrounds the system and the body. Before you even touch someone physically, you are exchanging information with every cell within their matrix system through the outer quantum that moves, pulses, and resonates around the two of you. While the diffusion of chemicals from one system to the other is an important method of communication, it is too slow a process to account for the rapid flow of information required for the subtle energy process that makes up the total body system network: mechanical, vibrational, energetic, electronic, and informational. The only way this can be accomplished systematically is through the quantum matrix web, which encompasses all systems and holds them together to function as one coherent, organic, chemical, and electrical biological entity that interacts with the biofield as one. We are a part of that greater whole, not as one structured being, but as a systematic and organized, smaller microquantum, operating and connected to the outer, larger macroquantum. At extremely small scales, space-time is actually digital in nature. It is not analog. It is not smooth. Quantum field theory and quantum electrodynamics predicted virtual photons that pop into and out of existence, leaving a sort of quantum foam in their wake. The presence of these virtual photons have been empirically verified. Also, a century of experimental observation of quantum systems has shown that particles with mass can exist in two or more locations or states at the same time. This is the basis for the quantum computer recently announced by the Los Alamos National Laboratory. It can perform 10 trillion operations a second because it operates on the principle of the binary bits being a 1 or a 0 at the same time. The processor and memory to this computer is the size of a drop of fluid. And as a matter of fact, the CPU and memory is a drop of fluid. The zero-point quantum occurs when an electric field and a magnetic field oppose one another, each canceling the other. However, in the mind field, we have seen evidence both theoretically and experimentally that the 0 point surrounds and pervades the atom and exists subatomically as an inner quantum. In this dimension, we see evidence of the scalar but have no way of verifying the originating waves, as the scalar is multidimensional. In theory, various particles emitted by the scalar nothingness produce fields on many planes of resonance. The subharmonics go into the light wave frequencies and pass through and create other dimensions and planes of existence. These hold the atomic structure in place, as well as the chaos in the field, both organized and unorganized. The chaos is utilizing neutrinos and tachyons. Neutrinos are elementary particles with zero charge, a half spin, and an extremely small, possibly zero mass. A tachyon is a superluminal particle that travels faster than the speed of light. These are the acceptable definitions from a scientific viewpoint. Now when you look at the space-time and the neutrinos and tachyons that carry information, they provide the same type of charge pattern and balance as the electron and proton of the atom, but are impossible to measure because they are of scalar origin and come from the original scalar model, which is multidimensional. The reason these artifacts cannot be measured is not because they have such a high velocity. Rather, it is because they show up in a dimension at certain harmonic levels and then disappear again into other dimensions in a continual quantum loop like the Mobius, no beginning and no end. This also explains the now popular string theory. The string theory is an astrophysics idea of multidimensional planes that move along a linear timeline. The string of dimensional events move through space and cause certain anomalies that are yet to be understood. This hypothesis suggests that the quantum moves within and throughout time, past, present, and future. When the energy of the quantum moves into a random event that changes resonance, it creates a parallel universe where other random choices have been acted upon to change the course of events that we experience in our known reality. Photons, mass, or information itself can simultaneously exist in two states, or two places, at the same time, because the overlap is in two linked but separate dimensions. One being our real 4D spacetime, the other being the imaginary world of hyperspace, also called dimensions. The spirit world, the etheric realm, and other names depending upon your perception. What creates our reality is rooted in this other space, and our world is inexorbitantly connected to it. Events that may collapse into our reality via the quantum superposition link. Our minds contain quantum dimensions, and that is why and how it is possible to access the higher domains of purpose that reside in outer dimensions unperceived by the material senses. We all have this ability, and is not really extrasensory or psychic. It is because we have a scalar mind field interconnected through the quantum. All of us have said at one time or the other, "Something told me to do that, but I didn't listen." That something is our own tap into the quantum. You see, we do have a telephone line directly to God. All we have to do is use it. Did you ever hear the analogy of the 100th monkey? Well, just imagine a monkey on the shore, kind of cleaning his clamshell that he just found. Wow, that's a tasty little clam that he's looking at. He pops the clam open and, gee whiz, there's some kind of nitty-gritty sand in there, and he remembers how kind of nasty that was before. So he takes the clamshell and washes it. Wow, that's a lot tastier. Even has a little salt on it. So, neighbor next door that look at what the Joneses are doing decide that they're going to also wash their clamshell out. Amazingly, all the monkeys, one by one, start to wash their clamshell. Wow, such an amazing thing. After 100 monkeys have washed their clamshell and eaten their tasty treat, suddenly, on another continent, far, far away, the same species of monkey now are washing their clamshell. How can this phenomena be? When referring to the quantum zero point, you must understand that there is a connection between the monkeys. It cannot be local, as thousands of miles of water and land separated the clusters of monkeys of the same species. This is an example of a modified behavior that, when practiced enough, can create the energy programming for the quantum zero-point movement to link to the sympathetic resonance of its like-kind species. Why do only certain species pick up the information? It is because the harmonic resonant level displayed in the mind field dictates the species signature. When that signature expands with information and touches other mind fields, it passes that information onto its sympathetic carrier. The monkey resonant level wouldn't be the same as a bird resonant level and its harmonic signature. Nor would the mind field carry the programming for the information to be passed on from one species to another. The information is carried across the quantum space fabric with no loss of energy over distance, and time is not a factor to touch all common harmonic resonant levels. Other levels could access the information, but it would not be coherent. So now you see that we have the macro and the micro universe to think about in all dimensions, which are limitless in space and time. The mind field quantum, now expanding, can reach outward and inward, depending upon the energy will, or by constant repetition, which sets up a resonant quantum energy flow. This flow utilizes the scalar dimensions of the physical to access the scalar master, or original dimension that causes the first interaction. Various timelines are also interdimensional, and that is also why time is not relevant. The space quantum zero point is the same as the quantum zero point of which we are made. The only difference is that the fabric is expanded as the harmonics become higher in resonance and more expansive in amplitude, energy, and breadth of purpose or experiences. Likewise, as our consciousness expands, it becomes one with the greater body of universal knowledge that moves on and through quantum space. Deja vu is when you know that you have experienced something before, and somehow you are doing it again. Or someone is so familiar you just know that you have met before and had a certain conversation in the past with him or her. The experience is all very eerie at the time and something that you just can't shake or dismiss from your mind. This is a random quantum event experience that slipped through the cracks of time reality. In the quantum space, you have experienced the occurrence or the person before, perhaps in a parallel universe or time, or even in a dream where the mind field has traveled into the various universes of dimensions and experienced the occasion long before the material aspect of the field manifested the information on this plane. The quantum never dumps information. It is all there, weaving in and out through time shifts and dimensions of existence. As limitless beings, we travel in and through this quantum world effortlessly, without body restrictions. And the more we are into the self, and the more restrictions we place on ourselves, the more difficult it is to fly in the quantum and perceive the boundless assets that are out there waiting for us to experience. Instead of the random event taking us by surprise, as in deja vu, we can access, at will, other creative modes of thought, and other ways to approach a problem that is not obvious on a mainstream level, but has probably been not only thought out, but experienced on some other level of perception. We are aware now of the great blue level quantum out there, of which we are all a part, and of the limitless space around us, engulfing us everywhere and everyone that we know and don't know, as well as all that is within us. Down to the smallest particle, both material and non-material, the quantum is within and expands out through the mind field to announce to the universe what and who we are, by constantly shifting and pulsing energetically the movement of soul and spiritual advancement. Understanding these concepts leads us to understand seemingly unnatural or supernatural phenomena. In the case of a healer, through mental imaging and quantum thought pattern released by the healer, whose intent is to remove all disrupted force, the limited pattern moves into the realm of atomic and then subatomic structure, finally taking form and manifesting as matter. This is actually happening on another plane of reality and moves into our dimensional plane only as the healer removes the incompatible pattern from the body, whereby it becomes solid structured matter. Normally, this anti-coherent signal begins with emotional trauma harbored within the field, and which can decay into a stagnant breakdown of once tranquil, free movement. Star Trek was right. Space is the final frontier, macro to micro. And our spaceship residence is constantly exploring its limitless power, whether we acknowledge it on a conscious level or even if we are totally unaware. It serves to take us on a spiritual journey that knows no time or limit of space, that unlimited space that is nothing. Therefore, we can reprogram space with our scalar generator, the mind field. How many times have we been cornered by a personality that we just can't bear? It's not that they're ugly. They actually may be Mr. GQ or Miss Vogue. But something about them just runs us off. Now we understand that when this person comes into our field and they touch us for the first time through the mind field, we instantly know whether their resonance is vibrating in a compatible way or not with ours. Remember, the mind field is not in the brain, but resides in the field, hence the term mind field, outside the body. The brain is just an organ of the physical that interprets and utilizes the signals of the quantum to regulate the resonance, the body, in which it resides. Others' resonance may be limited or may be more unlimited than our own. But for us to feel comfortable, it is important that each person we call friend is in resonance with us, at least in harmonic content. If you continue to be around people incompatible with your field and with a limited harmonic resonance, your expanded field will diminish and begin to resonate as a limited mind field. The quantum spirit will feel stifled, smothered, and stagnant. Have you ever hung out with people but felt that you shouldn't be there? If you stay in the company of someone with an incompatible field, emotional trauma perceived by the higher soul consciousness begins to impact the field, and nothing will make you feel right. This leads to the chaotic patterning of disease. You must break free of the limited resonance and begin again to expand your field by actively choosing new experiences, reaching out for greater depth and breadth of spiritual fulfillment. Through the awareness of and the openness to the quantum's unlimited consciousness, you begin to grow. We are not a body with a field. We are a field with a body. You can move to a more refined mind field that is more full, pure, and clear if a great lesson has been learned and made part of your life experiences, or if you have moved into the resonance of those wiser and more spiritual. The longer you wait, the harder it will be to do so. The quantum spirit will have been dragged down to an unrefined resonant field where the energy is non-existent for cohesive behavior patterns. Likewise, if the limited resonant person chooses to grow, the higher resonance can pull them along to resonate with the higher harmonic being. That person will be uplifted or even healed, because when a higher resonant field is suppressed, it manifests as illness, and when raised, heals itself. Remember in the New Testament where Christ walked along and the woman simply touched his garment and was healed? His field was so pure and complete, he didn't have to do anything. He started a sympathetic pattern that changed the oscillation of her field by just being in his presence. Her mind field was not as intense or developed as his. However, he moved her field out in all directions and high enough in vibratory rate to heal her, but gave her the caveat: go and sin no more. Change your life. Change your patterning. You cannot heal anyone unless your resonance is higher than the one needing the healing. The more experiences that we have, organized into a complete pattern that is moving with energy through the quantum space, the more we grow in intellect, spiritual advancement, and thought. The healthier we are, body, mind, and spirit, the stronger and further the energy quantum 0 point space fans out, expanding exponentially. It becomes stronger and stronger as the sum of our experiences grow and our minds open to the endless possibilities that are available to us. As this field oscillates and moves with vital energy, we begin to tap into the zero-point energy fabric that contains all universal knowledge. Along with the positive and good experiences or actions that seem to float in the field, like high cirrus clouds on a sunny day, the bad experiences are dragged along like low, dark clouds. Every action which was unkind, every thought or spoken word that was detrimental to others or ourselves, every selfish act, our intolerance, greed, lust, etc., stays in our field to burden us down and keeps our harmonic resonance unbalanced. These actions and other responses that are damaging to our field stay in the field as chaotic fractal patterns. They in themselves are not necessarily negative unless we transact with, react to, or pull in the negative chaos to own it, robbing us of our power. If these patterns are constant enough and consistent enough, they will eventually destabilize the resonance and cause the signature to lessen in intensity. When this happens, sickness will manifest in the physical. Only the amount of positive growth and positive influences infused into the field can limit and even lessen the physical chaos created by the emotional trauma. So when everything's coming your way, you're probably in the wrong lane. In being responsible for ourselves, we are standing strong to support all connected to the universal fabric of the quantum and all life as a whole. The one grain of sand moved one way or the other makes a big difference in how the beach looks in the end. Think of this as throwing a stone into the water. Ripples go out from the center in concentric circles. We are in the center, and for each action we take, good or bad, ripples of waves fan out from our center field to larger concentric circles of influence. We affect all around us, as well as that which we cannot sense in other dimensions that are interconnected to the quantum zero point. We are not humans on a spiritual journey. We are spirits on a human journey. The space capsule that we recognize as our residence, our body, is the dwelling place of the space being that we are. This space being is an evolving spirit that can move through dimensions and time even though we are not cognizant of it. What about the third of our life during which we don't know what we're doing or where we are? What about that part of our life when we strip off the spacesuit and walk about freely and materially energy naked? You say that doesn't happen to you? Wrong. You do this every day, or should I say, every night. Every night you go to sleep and you don't know anything about the next 6 to 8 hours, except that you have parked your spacesuit in a 4x6 parking spot. This is the time that our quantum space energy is renewed. This is the time we can escape the chaos that the resonance has created and leave all of our stuff in that resonance to go back and live with our true nature. The conscious mind is limited in part because of its physical aspects that are connected to the senses and equates everything to the material. Learn to tap into the universal knowledge available through the subconscious mind field. That is where all the answers lie. So when we dream, what is happening? In the dream state, we are out of residence, have shed the spacesuit, and are flying in and out of that dimensional space fabric unhindered by time, unhindered by space, and unhindered by the presence of this dimensionality. We can explore other choices that we may have made in this game of life and find out what would have been. Perhaps we will spin into the future to see a scene that will trigger a wave of rational thought that will guide us through a situation. Why did kings of old have their dreams analyzed? Because they are messages from themselves, speaking from the other dimension, from the subconscious to the conscious. Who better to relay information to ourselves but ourselves? Why is communication difficult between the spirit quantum and the conscious being? the higher expansive consciousness dwells and moves in other dimensions of reality that are multifaceted and omnidirectional. We are presently linear beings, using a resonant body as the body does not move out of phase with time, and the atomic material structure is static and locked into the dimensional time phase of the present. There are 6 elements, therefore, that change our resonance and harmonics to a fuller and higher vibratory rate, or lower it to a shallow one with few harmonics. The first is our environment, where we live, where we work, where we sleep, and the structure of nature around us. The second is the relationships in our lives, our friends, acquaintances, business partners or co-workers, family, and even groups that we encounter. The third is how we spend our free time, whether it is productive or not productive, whether it brings joy or disease, or is relaxing or competitive. The fourth is exercise and mobility. The fifth is what and how we eat. And the sixth is what we think. We are dimensional light beings using a little borrowed physical matter with which to work out a great plan of spiritual evolution. Darkness should never surround us or be able to share in the God particle of our soul. Never give your power away or sell it into the slavery of darkness through a transparent relationship of any kind. The idea of this lecture is to empower you. By empowering you, you automatically make others stronger in the quantum, and in turn, empower them. Beware of those who want you to give your power to them. The truth of this information should set you free. This truth parallels any religious belief and should strengthen whatever inner convictions you have in God that will model and mold you into a better person. That person, in whom a higher spirit dwells, has the job of raising the resonance of the quantum energy it holds so it can party with angels in that highest dimension many call heaven. God is a part, as well as the entire nothing of the quantum. He is a part because he exists in all living things as the breath of life, and is a living part of each existence. He is also the entire nothing of the quantum itself, as he is the one who, being every part, becomes the interconnecting complete collective of the whole self. He is everywhere and infinite, as the quantum fabric is everywhere and infinite. Though there may not be material existence, there is always space. You can easily destroy the physical, but you cannot destroy the space, the nothing. Even if the space collapses upon itself, such as in a black hole, it just creates more of itself by eliminating the material matter around it. This principle proves the existence of God in all things and all space, and we are interconnected to it all. We are that one grain of sand that gets moved on the beach to move not only others, but all things. Imagine, God gave us that wonderful choice, the free will to move as we need most to achieve a higher resonance and advance ourselves in the quantum layer harmonic code. This is true empowerment. Death is no stranger. In death, are you leaving life behind? Or are you returning to life where you left off before birth? You are a spiritual being that inhabits a temporary shell. A field or soul coalesces matter and information from the parents chosen, and the body grows into the patterning of the field. You are a temple for the expansive and cohesive consciousness of an ageless spirit, locked for a brief period of time in material substance that becomes informed, tested, and presented with choices to grow and to reach a higher level of spiritual endeavor. When you make a mistake, you have an opportunity to learn from your mistake by responding in a way that expands your consciousness. When you continue to repeat that mistake and ignore the opportunity to learn, this affects your resonance. The chaos from the experience lives inside the resonance temple, never allowing the feeling of internal peace. The great being that you are and of which you are a part, yearns to cram every bit of learning capacity and information into this fateful residence. You choose whether it is limited or expansive. When you have fulfilled your mission, organized the pattern of experiences, and feel a completion of the soul mind-field advancement, you move into the quantum body with your conscious experiences intact. This conscious awareness is neither good or bad, but simply operates within the framework of the quantum and God's energy of love to attain spiritual growth and achieve an unlimited, fuller, higher self-state. After your death, you will be what you were before your birth. Death is merely a reorganization of space and an ascension into the quantum. Mandela expressed that interrelationship into the quantum and the power within when he said, in quotes, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. The resonance is in fact in residence. One is a container, and the other true light.